Everyone knows the brand. It's plastered on every magazine cover, woven into every speech, and preached from the balcony of that Montecito mansion. Authenticity. Living your truth. Being real. It's a multi-million-dollar message that Meghan Markle has sold to the world. And for a long time, the world bought it. We bought the fairy tale of the self-made woman who found her prince. It was glossy, it was perfect, and it was ready for prime time. But there is a massive problem with building your entire empire on the concept of truth. If you're going to preach honesty, your own story has to be bulletproof. And recently, that bulletproof glass has started to crack. We aren't just talking about little inconsistencies or memory lapses. We are talking about entire chapters of a life that seem to have been deliberately erased. While the world was looking at the shiny royal wedding, something else was happening in the shadows. Stories were being buried, records were being locked, and the people we thought were the villains might have been telling the truth all along. You see, the glossy fairy tale has a dark side. And it all leads back to a specific year, a mysterious lock placed on public records, and a rumor that refuses to die. What happens when the truth starts to unravel? Let's just say the polished image is about to get very messy. Let's look at the timeline. When you try to map out the life of a public figure, it's usually pretty straightforward. High school, college, first job, big break. It's a straight line. But when heavy-hitting biographers like Tom Bauer and Andrew Morton tried to do this for Meghan, they hit a wall. And we aren't talking about amateur bloggers. These are the guys who wrote the definitive books on Princess Diana and global tycoons. They know how to dig. Yet both of them expressed frustration. They couldn't piece together who she actually was before she met Harry. It was described as a struggle to find the real Meghan. It's like trying to put together a 1,000-piece puzzle, but someone has removed the center section and burned the box. You can see the edges, the Northwestern graduation, the deal or no deal briefcase, the Suits premiere. But the years in between, they feel fast-forwarded. It's a movie edit where the director cut 10 minutes of crucial plot, and you're left wondering how the character got from point A to point B. This isn't just about privacy. Everyone is entitled to a private life. But when you make transparency your business model, people start asking questions when they notice the edits. The narrative feels less like a life lived and more like a script written. And the more people looked at these gaps, the more they realized that the timeline didn't flow. There were convenient blank spots, times where she was struggling or auditioning, but the details were always hazy. And it was in these hazy margins that the internet started to find things that didn't fit the official story. For years, the narrative was simple. Meghan is the victim, and her family, specifically her half-sister, Samantha, are the jealous, bitter relatives trying to cash in. And to be fair, the media played right into that. Every time Samantha spoke, it was framed as a rant. She was dismissed as someone seeking attention, chasing a paycheck, or just being vindictive. It was easy to write her off. But then the tone shifted. Samantha stopped screaming and started hinting. She stopped rushing to the tabloids with wild, angry accusations and started acting with a strange, calm confidence. It wasn't the behavior of someone who was lying. It was the behavior of someone who was waiting. She started dropping breadcrumbs. She alluded to evidence and documents from the 90s that had never been examined. She didn't spell it out. She just let the suggestion hang in the air. This is a masterclass in psychological warfare. When someone screams, you tune them out. When someone whispers that they know a secret, you lean in. Samantha began to look less like a villain and more like a witness for the prosecution. She hinted that the authenticity brand was built on porkies, lies told to the royals to secure the bag. And the internet, realizing that Samantha wasn't backing down, started to wonder what if the jealous sister was actually the only one telling the truth. This is where things go from celebrity gossip to investigative thriller. With the seed of doubt planted, internet sleuths decided to do what journalists were too afraid to do: go to the source. A persistent rumor had been circulating about 1997. Why that year? Because it's one of those blank spots in the timeline. Someone decided to write to the California Birth Records Office to see if anything came up under the name Rachel Meghan Markle for that year. Now, usually you get a no record found and move on, but that's not what happened. The response that came back sent shockwaves through the online community. The office allegedly confirmed that they found records showing a birth for that name in 1997. But here is the kicker, the devastating detail that changes everything. They couldn't give any details. Why? Because the records were sealed. Let's look at the timing, because in investigations, timing is everything. These records weren't just random private files. The lockdown on these specific documents allegedly happened in December 2018. Let that sink in. Meghan and Harry married in May 2018. She was pregnant with Archie, fully integrated into the royal family and at the height of her fame. 7 months after the wedding, a 21-year-old record gets locked down tight. Why wait 2 decades to seal a record unless it suddenly became a liability? It wasn't just birth records either. People found that documents related to her first marriage to Trevor Engelson were also incredibly difficult to access, as if a digital scrubber had gone through her past. The civil ceremony with Trevor had almost no witnesses, no family, just strangers. It was a pattern of secrecy that was becoming impossible to ignore. When the internet smells blood, it goes into a frenzy. And for a while, that frenzy focused on a man named Joe Giuliano. You might remember this phase, thumbnails everywhere with giant red arrows pointing to a random blonde guy labeling him the secret husband. The theory was that Joe was the father, the secret ex, the missing link to 1997. People went deep. They dug up photos, analyzed timelines, and convinced themselves that this was the guy. He was dubbed the Ghost Groom. It was a compelling story the secret lover left behind for fame. But there was a problem. It wasn't true. The more people dug into Joe, the more the theory collapsed. There was no marriage license, no credible witnesses, no photos that couldn't be explained away. It was a house built on quicksand. And eventually, even the most hardcore theorists had to admit they had hit a dead end. But looking back, you have to wonder, was the Joe Giuliano theory a distraction? In magic, they call it misdirection. You get the audience staring at your left hand so they don't see what your right hand is doing. While everyone was chasing a ghost named Joe, the real story was sitting right there in the family tree. Once the dust settled on the Joe theory, the investigators didn't stop, they just pivoted. They realized they shouldn't be looking for strangers. They should be looking at the people who were there all along. The focus shifted to the Markle family itself, specifically a cousin named Sean Johnson. This is where the speculation gets uncomfortable and incredibly specific. The internet started analyzing photos of a child often referred to as Noel, who had appeared in family contexts. They started doing side-by-side comparisons. And I'm not talking about vague resemblances. People were analyzing ear shapes, smiles, and facial structures. They pointed out that this child shared striking similarities with both the Markle side and, well, let's just say the resemblance was uncanny. The theory that emerged was explosive. What if family roles had been rearranged? What if a child born in that missing 1997 window was raised within the family, but the parentage was obscured to protect a young Meghan's future career? It sounds like a soap opera, but remember the phrase that kept coming up: what she told Harry wouldn't match the truth. If Harry had known about a past pregnancy or a secret child, would the royal wedding have happened? That's the billion-dollar question. The implication is that the fairy tale was sold to the prince under false pretenses. The authenticity wasn't just a brand, it was a mask. And if the mask slips, the whole royal narrative falls apart. But if you think the timeline gaps are strange, wait until you hear about the medical mystery that has the internet completely divided. This is where things get really dark, and the rumors go from intriguing to career-ending. According to the transcript and the whispers circulating in these investigative circles, there is a massive contradiction involving Meghan's ex-husband, Trevor Engelson. Now, Trevor has famously stayed quiet. He took the high road right, he didn't give interviews, didn't write a tell-all. But according to sources close to the situation, Trevor allegedly made a comment that completely shatters the official narrative. The rumor is that Trevor confirmed Meghan had a hysterectomy during their time together. Let that sink in for a second. If that is true, and again, we are looking at the allegations that are fueling this fire, then how do you explain the pregnancies that followed? How do you explain Archie? How do you explain Lilibet? This is why the surrogacy and moon bump theories have confused so many people. It's not just people being mean. It's people trying to do the math on a biological equation that doesn't add up. If the 1997 birth records exist, that means she could have children back then. But if a medical procedure happened afterward with Trevor, well, you see the problem. It creates a timeline where physically the fairy tale pregnancy in the royal family becomes medically impossible without help that was never disclosed to the public. And remember, in the royal family, the line of succession is everything. Born of the body is the legal requirement. If she lied about how those children arrived, or if she lied about her medical history to the royals, that isn't just a little white lie. That is constitutional fraud. And while we are digging into the things that don't add up, we have to talk about the yacht girl allegations. The transcript mentions this, specifically noting that Samantha's new claims make the old yachting rumors look tame by comparison. For those who don't know, the yacht girl theory is the dark underbelly of the Cannes Film Festival and the glamorous European social scene. It suggests that before the fame before suits, Meghan was navigating high society waters in a way that wasn't exactly official. The timeline critics point out that she was living a lifestyle that her acting credits simply couldn't pay for. Who was funding the travel? Who was paying for the clothes? The rumor mill suggests she was a social hostess on mega yachts, rubbing shoulders with the elite long before she met Harry. Why does this matter? Because it fits into the erased past narrative. If you are trying to market yourself as a humanitarian and a feminist icon, you scrub the internet of any photos or connections to that world. You delete the blog posts. You ghost the people who knew you back then. But here is the danger of erasing your past. The people you left behind still have their memories, and Samantha Markle seems to be hinting that she knows exactly who paid the bills during those struggling years. When Samantha says the truth would destroy the marriage, she isn't talking about Meghan being annoying. She is implying that the origin story Harry was told is completely fabricated. If the prince fell in love with a humanitarian but married someone with a for sale sign on their past, that is a betrayal that goes beyond simple family drama. Let's go back to the Noel situation for a moment, because we glossed over just how deep the internet investigators went on this. It wasn't just, oh, they look alike. It was forensic-level scrutiny. We are talking about the genetic mirror. When photos of this child purportedly named Noel surfaced alongside photos of Meghan at the same age, the internet broke. The eyes, the specific shape of the nose, the way the smile breaks across the face. Genetics are funny things, but they rarely lie. The theory gaining the most traction is that Noel was raised by the family specifically connected to the Sean Johnson side to hide the child in plain sight. It's a classic old Hollywood fix. You don't put the baby up for adoption to strangers. You keep it in the family and just change the titles. The mother becomes the aunt. The grandmother becomes the mother. If this is true, it explains the deep, visceral anger Meghan seems to have toward her father and Samantha. It's not just about them talking to the press. It's about the fear that they hold the ultimate card. They know who Noel really is. And if that DNA test ever happened, the game is over. The discovery trap. Why she won't sue. This brings us to the most important question of all. If these rumors are so wild, so damaging, and so false, why hasn't Meghan sued Samantha into oblivion for this specifically? Meghan is not afraid of a lawsuit. She sued the Mail on Sunday over a letter. She has legal teams on retainer that cost more than most people earn in a lifetime. So why allow your own sister to insinuate you have a secret child and a fake history? The answer is one word: discovery. In the legal world, discovery is the phase where both sides have to show their cards. If Meghan sues Samantha for defamation regarding the 1997 child or the fake pregnancies, Meghan has to prove those claims are false. That means handing over medical records. That means unsealing the very documents she fought to lock away. That means undergoing a DNA test to prove she isn't related to that child. It is a trap. Samantha knows it, and Meghan knows it. If Meghan sues, she opens the door to the public seeing the files she has spent millions to hide. If she doesn't sue, the rumors stay alive and the brand continues to crumble. It is a stalemate. Samantha is betting that Meghan loves her secrets more than she hates the rumors. And so far, that bet is paying off. The silence is the only defense she has left. But as we know, silence in the face of such specific accusations doesn't look like dignity anymore. It looks like guilt. And that is where the authenticity brand finally dies. You can't be authentic while holding the door shut on your own closet full of skeletons. The world is watching the door, and thanks to Samantha, the lock is starting to pick itself. Just as the Sean Johnson theory was heating up, a physical letter surfaced. It was allegedly connected to Samantha, and it didn't just hint at family secrets, it seemingly addressed them. Handwriting experts went to war in the comment sections. Was it real? Was it fake? But the content of the letter aligned perfectly with the theories that had been brewing. It spoke of unresolved matters of children of lies, and the timing brutal. This letter dropped right as Meghan was trying to pivot her brand yet again, moving away from royal drama and toward lifestyle and wellness. It was a PR nightmare. But the most telling part of this entire saga isn't the letter or the photos or the records. It's the silence. In the world of PR, if someone tells a lie about you that is this damaging, that you have a secret child, that you faked your history, you deny it. You sue. You shut it down immediately. You don't let a rumor like that fester unless you are afraid of what a court case would reveal. Discovery is a dangerous thing. The Sussex camp has been silent. Samantha hasn't been sued for these specific insinuations. The records remain locked. The silence is deafening. It acts as a vacuum, sucking in more speculation and giving weight to the rumors. If it was all nonsense, it would be easy to disprove, but they haven't. And that is what keeps the internet awake at night. So where does that leave us? We have a duchess who preaches honesty but has a locked-down past. We have a sister who went from villain to vindicated. We have records from 1997 that are guarded like state secrets. And we have a public that no longer buys the polished version of events. The Joe theory might have been wrong, but it proved one thing: people know there is a secret. They just haven't found the right key to the lock yet. But with Samantha talking, records being uncovered, and the timeline being scrutinized frame by frame, it feels like we are in the final act. The truth has a funny way of bubbling to the surface no matter how deep you try to bury it. And when that full story finally breaks, it won't just be a tabloid scandal. It will be the end of the authenticity brand forever. Because you can only play a character for so long before the audience realizes they're watching a performance. What do you think? Is the silence an admission of guilt or just a refusal to engage? And why lock a 1997 record in 2018? Let me know your theories in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories they don't want you to know.